Hello everybody, we have a new game with the white pieces against Oscar, rated 1650. We're definitely climbing the ladder and we're playing the bishop's opening, hitting the center. He's developing a piece, we're developing our knight, controlling the center as well. He brings out both knights, pressures the center, makes a lot of sense. I can't draw an arrow. Okay, so we just play d3, create the pawn chain and open up our bishop. Simple moves. He'll probably bring out his bishop somewhere, would be my guess. Bit of a weird time to think, but okay. Yep, he develops his bishop, pins the knight, right? And gets ready to castle. All good stuff by him. Um, I'm going to develop my knight. I have every intention of playing f4. Going for a kingside attack in the future if I can play f5. So I don't want to block that pawn with my knight. So he castles. So he's played all solid principled moves, although he is a 1650, so you should expect good moves. Okay, so in this position, we simply castle. The rook is behind the f-pawn, ready to support it. And now black goes d6, opening up the diagonal for his light square bishop. So everything's good, and we are good to go with f4. His bishop is also in a weird spot. You could throw in a move like this, but I don't see the need. We could also develop the bishop first. Should we develop the bishop or play f4? Those are the two moves. Let's develop the bishop first. Now all of our minor pieces are developed, so no one can say anything, right? About pushing the f-pawn too early. We got all our pieces out. Now he develops the bishop, and even though I'm going to play f4, I'm going to throw in f3 just to see what his intentions are. And if he goes back, then it's like we got f4 for free. So he goes here. So it's like we got f3 for free, which is still nice, as it supports the structure. So he's hitting our bishop. I actually don't care if he takes. I don't mind his doubling of the pawns. It supports the central square very nicely. So I'm not going to waste turn retreating it, which I think most of you would automatically do. His knight is pinned. So I'm going to improve this knight into the center and increase the pressure, almost forcing him to take with his bishop so that he doesn't double his g-pawn, which would be very bad for his king. So he basically has to take, and now how do we want to recapture? If we take with the pawn, he has to move his knight. He'll likely jump it into the center, let's say. If we take with the bishop, we keep the diagonal open for the bishop. So let's just do that, and we maintain our structure so we don't have to make any concessions for no reason. And now we're the ones with the light square bishop, right? Looking down this diagonal, and he doesn't have it. He tried to contest ours, and suddenly his disappeared. So that's pretty funny. And now we have ideas of f4, f5, c3. Instead of going for the f4, f5 plan, there are even ideas of the playing in the center, c3, d4. Since this f3 pawn does support the center nicely, that gives us the opportunity of breaking this way. Because like the way it's supported in this direction lets us break this way, but we can also make the same argument on the other side that it's supported in this direction, so we can also go this way, right? Because the triangle is symmetrical. Okay, so he moves his queen. It does connect the rook, but it's a weird move that kind of does nothing because it's still in the pin. It's just a weird move. So do I want to play in the center, or do I want to play on the king side? I mean, my rook's here, right? So I think it's more consistent to play on this side. Yes. Definitely increasing the activity of the rook and the possibilities of the queen. If we're allowed to, we will play f5, creating a wedge pawn that acts as an attacker in the king side. Otherwise, if he takes so that we don't have that attacker, well, then we at least get to maybe develop our knight and clear the way for our queen. So all in all, everything's going according to our plan, and I think we're happy out of the opening with the bishop pair and a nice center slash attacking prospects on his king. His bishop staring into nothing, which we can always throw in c3 at any point just to stop and restrict his minor pieces on the queen side. So he puts his rook here, which is another crazy move to me. But I think his idea is that he wants to move the knight and he doesn't want to hang the pawn. Fine. I am going to throw in at this moment exactly c3 to hit because it's for free, number one, and it stops his idea of jumping into the center, making his knight and bishop have no good squares. So there's that. There's this check on your king, so just keep it in mind. So if you go for something like this, you're going to get hit with a check. You could move your king just so that the rest of the game you don't have to worry about it, but then that allows him the possibility to take your f-pawn. I want my f-pawn on f5, so I want to remove this possibility right now so he never has the opportunity to take it. He's creating maybe an escape square for his bishop or knight, but this wastes a lot of time. All of his moves over here. We made one move, but it was free, so it's not even doesn't even take our turn. And now we're ready to do stuff on the king side. So this knight is kind of in the way of our queen. We also could immediately win material by taking. Oh no, he has the check. And then he could defend the pawn. I'm just going to move my king, so I don't have to worry about that in any of the lines, right? I don't want to have to pay attention. I'd rather just relax. So he moves his king kind of like us, but his diagonal's not open the same way ours was, so makes a little less sense. So I want to get this knight out of the way. It doesn't have anywhere to go here, so it's kind of makes sense to go here. And even though you give up control of the center, the pawn covers it, right? So that's not a concern. This clears the way for the queen. And before I move the knight here, I'm thinking of where can it go next? Because otherwise I wouldn't really want it here, but it can go here. And why does that square matter? Because there's a pin on the knight. So that actually, even though it's a weird square you wouldn't normally want to go to, in this specific case, it does a lot because he's in this pin. So he goes here. Where can he go? Nowhere currently, because it hangs. So I'm going to continue with the knight h5, get it out of the way of my pawns, get it out of the way of queens, rooks, and threaten to maybe double his g-pawn. We also, if we sack and he takes, and I just swing my queen in, then he moves his rook over. Yeah, so that wouldn't work really. Okay, so he moves his knight back, probably to kick my bishop and probably just to kick my bishop because this guy's not going anywhere. So he made his knight terrible. He also blocked the connection of his rook, so that's really bad. All to do this, which is not a big deal because I just go back. So really bad move. Oscar standard. Maybe I played this guy before. Okay, so we can mess up his pawn structure immediately. Which piece do we want left over? And also at the same time, we're not forced to do it immediately, so we can just improve and increase the pressure. I think I like that the most. So I finally want to get my queen in, or maybe my rook in first. Which one? I'm leaning towards the queen intuitively. So let's just do the queen. Connect our rooks. Stronger piece, more flexible, dark squares. He does attack our center, I mean the bishop, but we're just going to drop back, of course. And now with our queen one step closer sacks become a little more tolerable or whatever. Ooh, he was playing, so well. I was having to prove my attack. Yeah, I was gonna show you guys like how to build up slowly, when they're defending and not blundering, and then this guy just blunders. I would have let him take it back, but he just resigned. So basically, he goes g6, trying to force the issue to resolve the tension, but he hangs the piece. So bishop takes is a check, and it wins the queen. Or maybe there was even mate, but either way, terrible. And he had plenty of time on his clock, but he just made an impulsive move, attacked the knight, right? He didn't even consider what my response could possibly be. He just did the first thing he felt like doing. So that's not going to end well. Okay, so we play e4, and we get the bishops opening on the board. Center, development, development, center, development, center, center, and development, development, center, king safety, development, and it affects the center because the knight's pinned. Then he does this weird move, free f3, so it's just a free move that solidifies our position. And it's nice to have these pawns on light for the moment because, our dark square bishop has mobility. And then we improve a piece for free. It hits the dark square bishop, it forces the light square, so you win the bishop pair, so it's a nice move to make. Force move, we have to recapture. This is just a weird, terrible move. It makes no sense. And then we attack the center, and it's really also about development, because if we take the f pawn off the board, our rook and queen have diagonals and lines. So this is another super terrible move, and it's already +4. Yeah, we're not up anything. We're not even up a pawn, but it's +4, which is insane. And it looks like black is pretty solid. He has a share of the center. His rooks are connected. His king's castle. It shouldn't be losing, right? But at the same time, it is losing. And it has to do with this pin that he can never break with his bishop. It has to do with our rooks compared to his rooks, our bishop compared to his bishop, our queen compared to his queen. Like, he's about to get checkmated, basically. So that's the power of the f4 move and why I like to play it. It does come with its own risks, though. So we kick the bishop for free, because why not? And we push the pawn. Computer wants us to take it because it opens up the rook on the knight immediately, which I didn't even consider. But yeah, you know how I was saying to get the knight here? I got it to h5 to double the pawns. And it's also why I had my knight on d5 earlier to threaten to double the pawns. You could do that immediately by taking here. And once he takes back with the pawn, you can take the knight, and he immediately doubles the pawns, which means you have immediate access on the g file. So yes, that makes more sense. Oops, what am I doing? But I did this, which actually protects his knight. So yeah, whoops. Okay, he wastes time. I move my king over. He moves his king over. And now I'm trying to get my queen in. And also the knight to h5 idea is to mess up his thing. And it's +3. So if he kicks immediately, so that you don't have time for knight h5. If you go queen in here, he gets a queen, you get a queen. He gets a knight, you get a knight. He gets an extra piece. So that doesn't work. So you just retreat your bishop and continue the attack with knight h5 next. That makes sense. But he didn't do that. He wasted more time doing nothing. all on the queen side. I have no idea what his ideas or plans were. Really weird. Okay, now it's +5. Now it's +6. Yeah, you definitely don't want to bring your knight back like that. It's terrible. We increase the attack. We bring in a new piece. Queen or rook makes sense. Now we're forced to bring the bishop back, and now he blunders his queen. I didn't even look at takes because I always like automatically f5 is the idea in lots of the positions, so I didn't even look at any other candidate moves. But obviously, when you have the pin here and the pressure on the knight, it makes way more sense to take. This is actually the idea behind a lot of the gambits I play, like in the Von Papillon and stuff. When you play f3 and sack the pawn, it's only to open the rook to coordinate with his bishop on their knight. But didn't even consider it. But it was a good game. This shows you how even when you're not up material in a position like this right here, you're +4. So it's kind of like just visually put this in your brain. You'll start to get an idea of what kingside attacks, what you can do with the f-pawn, and how to conduct them. So hopefully this helps. Good luck in your chess. See you next time.